Welcome S4 NetQuest with the LTEN partner preview, and Jim Gilkey, the president of S4 NetQuest. I will hand things over to you and let you kick things off. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you very much, Christine, and thanks everybody for taking time today. We greatly appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen, hopefully successfully. Can you guys see that? Mm-hmm. So let's open this up and kick it off. As I said, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules today. Greatly appreciated. As Christine said, send us questions in the chat. We'll try to address all of those. If not now, we'll certainly follow up. As you can see from the intro, our differentiator is really innovative, highly effective instructional design. It's called M-PACT Learning, and we'll discuss a little bit of that and show some examples. Quick background, most of you know me. My undergrad was actually aviation at Ohio State. I thought I wanted to be a commercial pilot. They have a program that gets you a 4-year degree and all your ratings. Did some training at United Airlines on the 767. Lots of fun, not what I wanted to do for a living. So I actually returned to Ohio State, completed my PhD in instructional design and technology, and actually ran the flight education division there for several years. Left in '98, and in 2000, myself and 2 partners founded S4 NetQuest. We've been at it for over 20 years now. In addition to the best design, we think it's critical to bring industry-specific knowledge to any program that we would be fortunate enough to be involved in. And as you can see here, lots of global experience. I think we've done 35 plus languages, lots of life sciences, medical devices, et cetera. So in addition, as I said, to really state-of-the-art instructional design, we do understand the challenges that you guys face. You know, copy approval, the regulatory nature, and the challenges you face there. We bring all that to any endeavor as well. Services, and I'll go through these fairly quickly because what I'd really like to do today is spend some time sharing some knowledge with you that may be beneficial to you, and then, of course, showing some demos, which I think everybody's most interested in because seeing is believing. Again, we are a design and development firm, and where we can have the greatest impact is at the program level. Onboarding, sales training, it doesn't really matter, leadership training. We can do individual assets and have. Can you give us an e-learning module on foundational knowledge, mechanism of action, et cetera? We can do that. Or could you put together a classroom piece for a sales meeting? We do that, but where the impact learning has the greatest effect is at the program level. The types of assets that we can create for our partners, you name it, we can do it. Just-in-time training, digital self-paced modules such as micro mods, interactive classroom. We do a lot with performance support tools, videos, simulations, gaming, social learning. Again, we can design and develop any of those types of assets. And again, at a program level, we would work with, our partner in a collaborative fashion to determine what is the best blend of assets for your particular program. We also have advisory services. We have several individuals on the team with 25 plus years. So we're a full service firm, strategic planning, competency modeling, gap analysis, again, end-to-end service provider. Technology-wise, and a lot of our clients love this, we're agnostic. We've used them all, VR, AR, AI. A lot of our clients like Articulate Storyline for modules, et cetera. But again, you choose the technology. Everything we design and develop, you own it. There's no proprietary programming that requires you come back to us for maintenance, et cetera. We want you to be a customer. We just don't want you to feel like a captive customer. So one of the things I thought we would do is, rather than focus in this whole session on solely about us and what we provide, et cetera, we think it's important to maybe share some of the things we've learned that may help you with some of your efforts. These are things that we've learned in the 22 plus years. One of the things we've learned, and we're now part of the Corporate Learning Network, and you guys, I know some of you are familiar with them, have attended some of their their get-togethers, et cetera. And their role is to get CLOs from across the globe to discuss, all types of L&D issues. And we're actually on the advisory board there. So what we have kind of really started to figure out with executives is, of course, you must understand the business goals that your company has. And then you have to develop learning strategies to support those business goals. This isn't anything that you don't know. And then you got to try to figure out how to measure results. A little more challenging, kind of the holy grail of training. But what we're finding as we talk with these folks is that at your level, at an executive level, you're assuming that as that trickles down and actually gets implemented, that instructional design will be highly effective. And in some cases, it isn't. And what we've discovered is that a lot of organizations, both within life sciences and outside of life sciences, use their subject matter experts to design. Now, subject matter experts are absolutely critical to a good design because they know the content, what's most important, what's hard to learn. But many of those SMEs may not have any knowledge or experience in actually designing effective learning, especially when you look at all the different technologies and assets, whether it's classroom, performance support tools, e-learning modules, whatever that might be. Although they have the content knowledge, they may not, in fact, have the design knowledge. And so all your strategy as it trickles down may not be as effective because of that. Another thing that we're finding throughout the industry, and we've seen this a lot, and you've seen it, we've worked with some major life sciences and medical device companies. And one thing that we see, especially nowadays, is a tendency to let technology drive the training, right? So you select the technology before identifying the learning needs. Hey, let's do VR, let's do AR. We got to use AI without it being based on what the actual learning needs are. There's a wow factor there. We did some work with a medical device company on a new robot, training surgeons, surgical staff, and commercial education as well. And they wanted to use VR, which we did. And we, in this example, got with the physicians, the surgeons, and they said, it's cool, but we're not going to spend much time under a hood doing that. So there is this wow factor that you got to be aware of, and it can be quite expensive. And most importantly, selecting the technology first, it may not actually meet your learning needs. And we see this a lot. And when we talk to these CLOs, they feel compelled to implement some of these technologies. We're not saying don't do it. We're saying don't let the technology drive it, but rather have the design drive it. And what we mean by that is first identify the learning needs required to support your business strategy. Then design a blended learning approach based on those identified needs. Then finally, choose the associated technologies required based on that blended design approach. And again, some of you may be facing some of these issues, and we really find that the design-driven approach is going to give you more effectiveness, you won't waste money, and you have a better chance of meeting your ultimate business needs. So hopefully that was somewhat helpful. As I said, at S4, our differentiator is M-PACT Learning. And some of you have seen this before, but generally when you compare the two, and we still see lots of companies, whether it's complex stuff like you guys face in life sciences, we do work with outside of medical, with large companies, global companies, they're still doing a more traditional approach. It's content-based, it's a singular event, focuses on the trainer. The real issue with the traditional approach is it promotes memorization of facts. Page turner is a traditional e-learning module. Read, take a test. Jim got 85, can move to the next level. That's not going to meet your business goals. That's not going to give you a competitive advantage. M-PACT Learning, our methodology is problem-based. Give them problems to solve. Give them the content needed. Let them collaborate. Focus the design on the learner, not necessarily the trainer. And the result of that is the ability to actually apply knowledge in the field rather than simply memorizing things for a test. And again, some of you have seen this, but it's a really good example of what we mean by this. So this is an example of a global company that focuses on things like prescription lenses. They do software for optical surgery, et cetera. And they gave us a project where they wanted us to train associates working in an optometrist office how the eye functions. They wanted everybody in there, whether you were a doctor or not, to have some sense of nearsighted, farsighted. These were millennials. And the other interesting thing they wanted us to do was try to repurpose the training to use with the patient. So what they had done previously is what we consider traditional. It was a page turner, had audio over top of it. 40 slides, 50 minutes. Millennials hated it. You're not going to spend that amount of time to try to discuss with a patient what the refractive disorder is. So we took all that content they gave us, and we turned it into a 7.5-minute micromod. So we went from 40 slides, 50 minutes, 7.5-minute micromod, and it starts with this interactive eye model. And what you'll notice that we didn't start with, which is done traditionally, there's 5 objectives to this module. The first objective is to understand what we have discovered in our 22 plus years. They don't remember that. It's called law of readiness in the M-PACT Learning. Let's have them do something immediately and get them ready to learn. So this is simply an interactive eye model, anatomy, and this window we created called vision scope, which changes dynamically. Let me show you this. There's the normal eye. You can see near and far. If I go over to myopia, which is nearsighted, you can see the cornea is way too steep in that particular patient's situation. And in vision scope, you can see the patient can see near, but not far. So that's nearsightedness.
Myopia can be caused by a...
Back to normal. How about hyperopia? Flat cornea, farsightedness. Again, you can see the cornea is way too flat. And vision scope shows you that they can see far, but not near. Thus far.
Hyperopia can be caused by a flatter than normal cornea. When the cornea is...
Now, I understand that's not necessarily your content, but what I want to show you there is our ability to take very traditional stuff and not only make it better, but shorter. 40 slides, 50 minutes, turned it into a 7.5-minute micromod. The problem-based learning comes in next. I didn't want to spend a lot of time there, where we say you're the optometrist, diagnose some patients, added some gaming because they were millennials, try to diagnose in the least amount of tries, and we're going to put a counter in there. Would you like a hint before you diagnose? Oh, I'd love a hint. So they were self-remediating. 7.5 minutes, learning more than 50. And the eye model we created at the beginning could be used with the patient to show that refractive disorder in 15 seconds. So that's kind of the M-PACT Learning. I want to show you some other types of demos, because I know we have a short period of time. If anybody's interested, we have lots of demos that might be a benefit just to see what's happening out there, whether we partnered or not. We do a lot with sales training, and what we have found is the traditional training, as you see here, there's some issues with that. And one of the major issues that we see with the traditional approach, again, it's memorization. So you do some pre-work. Those could be page turners, but it's memorization. Classroom, still traditionally lecture format with the subject matter expert. You might do some role plays, but still basically memorization. This little scale at the bottom is Dreyfus's skill acquisition. And the major problem we see with traditional is when somebody goes into the field, they're still at a low level of skill acquisition, novice, getting into advanced beginner. So what a lot of organizations do is allow the field to be where the real training occurs. Problematic, frustrating. You can get turnover. And one of the things that's really important in life sciences is if these folks are new and they're trying to talk to a physician or a surgeon and they don't have the knowledge required, they're not adding value, they could harm the relationship. With M-PACT Learning, we're going to do application at every level along the way, not memorization. And as you can see, when you pair that with a good structured field experience, not just a ride along and hope, but an actual structured field experience, simple to complex, impetus on the learner, we can get them up to a much higher level of skill acquisition before entering the field. So with our model, when they enter the field, rather than being a novice or advanced beginner, they're competent, bordering on proficient. And of course, you have to be in the field to get up to the expert, but we can do that in a shorter period of time and reduce a lot of the risk. Let me just show you a quick example. With pre-work, a lot of people say, well, Jim, it's a module. There's not a lot of application you can do there. Let me show you an example of one. This is called Application Station, and it's a self-paced module. And what they're trying to do here, they've had some previous work. They're trying to use evidence, such as pharma evidence, and apply that based on a particular physician that they're trying to sell to. So let me launch this for you. So this isn't, because it is a kind of a prototype that we're allowed to show, not everything works, but the way it actually functions, we've done this for several organizations, is I can go in and determine what type of evidence I want to work with. So for this one, it's the titration schedule, and it's going to be a neurologist that I'm going to talk to about Performax, which is the drug. So the first thing we have them do is actually hear what this physician thinks about the current drug they're using, which is going to be Generex. And what we'll find is in the behavioral profile, they're going to be a controller. And that's going to be important as to how you are going to use evidence to sell. Let's go back and review the titration stuff that I need to know. So we have these experts always available to you to help you solve problems, to give you insights, etc. That's where we can do simulated collaboration. So in here, you're going to learn all about the titration. And in this case, the real issue here is that the titration schedule is long, but in this case, the results are an elimination of seizures as compared to simply modifying them. Now, M-PACT Learning, we always want to apply the knowledge, right? So what we're going to do is give you a scenario. And here's the scenario. You're going to watch this sales associate with the physician discussing Performax. It's a neurologist. She's currently using Generex, and this individual is worried about titration. So you would watch that interaction. Then we're going to have them actually apply the knowledge that they've just learned. And what I mean by that is, let's evaluate this. So again, it's simulated collaboration, it's problem-based learning. Did they use all the available evidence? I think they did a pretty good job with that. Did they use the collaborative approach? Yep. How about the discussion based on that particular profile? I thought they did a good job with that. Did the rep effectively address the concerns? Did a good job with that. And then they did secure a next step, because in that video, they ended up getting a follow-up meeting. Now, did I do that correctly? Am I applying the evidence correctly? How would I know that? Well, it's a self-paced, and I don't necessarily want to put this in an LMS. So what I do is I compare my answers to that of an expert. So again, simulated collaboration. And you go down through here, I did a pretty good job, except I said they used a collaborative approach, and the expert said they didn't do a very good job with that. I need them to explain that to me. So the expert comes up and explains why they could be better at using a collaborative approach. So again, everything we talked about with M-PACT Learning is in there. Collaboration, problem-based learning, etc. What's also cool is, even though I may have matched, I still may want to hear from the expert about what they thought about, for instance, utilizing all available evidence. So I wanted to show you how we can even with self-paced, get very effective learning, application of that learning, etc. Now, I have other examples of how we use that in the classroom. It's very similar. We're going to team people up, and I won't go into it because I want to show you some more innovative stuff we're doing, some new stuff. But in this case, in the classroom, what we would do, let's say it's a virtual session, same thing. Give them a scenario, give them the evidence, and then what we want them to be able to do is come to the virtual class and present how they would address that particular physician's concerns, objections, etc. So again, really good application. And rather than just having the rest of the class sit there and watch that, they're going to judge how effective they think the presentation was. So again, it's all application, which will in fact allow them to be much more ready in the field. And I know we have a little bit shortage on time, so I wanted to show you some new stuff we're into. We're doing a lot with AI right now, and there's two things I'd like to show you that we're involved in. One is the use of AI for coaching. And this stuff, folks, it's just crazy how fast this stuff has changed. Let me give you an example of what we're doing with coaching.
Let's first talk about our customers. They are unique, and they want different things than they did 10 years ago. Click each customer to learn more.
This is the
I
more
know what I
traditional
need,
approach, right?
and this is the solution I have in mind.
Avatars,
I already have
cartoons,
estimates from 2
etc.
other companies.
What we're able to do with AI now is this.
Let's first talk about our customers. They are unique, and they want different things than they did 10 years ago. Click each customer to learn more.
I don't care about features and benefits, but I do care most about value to the hospital and to my patient.
All of that is AI generated. And let me just give you a glimpse kind of behind
Let's
the
first
curtain.
talk about
Again,
it is up to you
hopefully
to adapt and
beneficial to
flex
you
so that you
guys.
have better sales conversations with your customers. As a result, your sales conversations will help the customer understand their needs more clearly, granting better outcomes for everyone.
So you start with the picture on the left, and all you need, you can use internal experts if you want. We're creating certain profiles that people want. But the key is if you start with a frontal picture without any expression, you can turn it into these. And as I
It
said,
is up to you
super
to
cool.
adapt and flex so that you have better sales conversations with your customers.
Now, how we're using that for coaching is this. The next step for us is, and let's say it's leadership coaching, manager coaching, you're going to be able to, through a query, go in and say, hey, I'm getting ready to have a critical conversation with one of my direct reports. Can you coach me on that? And using AI, that query will go into a database. It will pull out the relevant content and present that avatar as an expert. And that's going to be available to you, whether it's coaching. You know, some of these where we had the experts come in and explain what they think about things. So again, it's moving very, very quickly, and it's really exciting stuff. The other way we're using it is through remediation. And what I mean by that is the remediation piece now allows us to take existing content in a database and allow somebody to remediate, to go in and review, etc. So these are just databases of content that we created previously. And here's how this works. These are bots that we're creating. And what it does, you open it up. And again, the database that we're using for these bots is existing content. So it knows it's me. And it says, hi, I'm the assistant. You can use the quick start menu, which I'll tell you about. But what can I help you with? Well, I want to review, let's say, chambers of the heart. I query that. Now, what's cool is it's going into the database of content that they used previously. And we have actually got it so where it not only goes and looks at text, it goes and looks at videos, animation, etc. So the result of this is, I'll give you a textual quick summary. There's 4 chambers of the heart, etc. But the other thing it does is say, do you want to look at additional stuff? Would you like to see a video? Would you like to see animation? All those assets it now realizes are in there. I can open one of those up. And what it's going to do is it's going to take me to assets that aren't just textual. In this case, this is a piece that we've partnered on with Visible Patient. You guys know them, Anatomy. And I can go in here and actually do some really, really cool stuff with this. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way so I can better see the chambers of the heart. Let's look at some of this in a little bit better fashion. So again, AI, it literally changes every single day as we're working with it. But what I wanted to be able to do there is show you that we're using it in a couple of ways. Coaching, using avatars especially, and then as a remediation tool. So I know we're kind of coming up on the end. I want to stop and make sure that I address comments, questions, etc.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. Does anyone have any questions, comments? That was really interesting. You're welcome to open your microphones and ask questions or put them into chat, whatever you feel comfortable.
Hey, Jim, thanks for taking the time and good to see you on here,
Hey, Jeff.
as always. When you were just showing the remediation, if you've partnered with anybody, where are they placing that? So, for example, my mind was going to, hey, field sales professionals, and they're looking for quickly, how do I go find an FAQ or some videos that went over a clinical, something of that sort. Where are they accessing that from, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so just like I opened up the bot, they would have a link that opens up a bot. And then those bots are connected to a variety of content databases. And depending on what it is they want to either review, remediate on, it's going to go in and grab data from existing modules, existing content.
Got it. Thank you. I didn't know if they're putting it within Aviva or anything that is a quick in the flow of work of, oh, let me go find that real quick. But I guess it could just be a separate thing on an iPad or whatnot. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, sure. Also going to bring this up. Also,
I see Amy has, I'm
Yep.
sorry, Amy
No, go
has
ahead.
put your contact information in there in case anyone wants to reach out directly.
Sure.
There we go.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Let's look and see what is in the chat. Yeah. So if anything does come up, this was a lot of information, very interesting. I love to see how you're using the AI in this, and fantastic stuff. So if anyone does, I know it's a lot of information. If you have questions that come up, agreed, Manny. No questions right now, but this was super helpful, really informative. As they come up, feel free to reach out to Jim or Amy directly. And if you misplace their emails, reach out to Greg or I. We'll get you in touch. And you're also welcome to share any questions in the chat before we wrap things up, and we will make sure that they get a copy of those as well. So it is 12:30 on the dot. We want to be respectful of your time. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate having you here and getting to know a little more about S4 NetQuest and talking with you, Jim. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate
Thanks,
everybody's
Jim.
time. Have a great day.